I have two questions. The first relates to taxation, and it is that I'd like to hear with some specificity what your party's policy is towards taxation on companies and unincorporated businesses. Second question relates to the development on the Southeast Peninsula. And if you could allow me to give some history of before your time to put my question in perspective. When your party was last in power, you conceived and built the Southeast Peninsula Road. Even before the road was built, the government of the day approved of a development by the French company Dumez, which built the Four Seasons Hotel in Nevis on close to 1,100 acres of the Southeast Peninsula. And the approval of the Dumez project called for or allowed up to 2,500 residential units of various types. When the road was completed, the then Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Michael Powell, said that the intention was that the Southeast Peninsula was going to be developed as a 5-star area, not like Frigate Bay, which was a 2-star area. Well, Colin Mallow nearly killed him at the time, so that was government policy at the time. The road was built. Unfortunately, due to other circumstances, Dumez didn't proceed with their development. But the opposition at the time, now the government, referred to the road as the road to nowhere, criticized it. When they got into power, they saw the folly of that position and decided to promote the development of the Southeast Peninsula, which is now taking place. Your party seems to have reversed its position and is now treating the development on the Southeast Peninsula as a political football and has introduced racial undertones, which I consider quite dangerous. My first question is in relation to that. How do you justify that apparent hypocrisy? Secondly, if your party's position and the pronouncements in your newspaper and on your platforms result in racial issues arising, do you think that getting into power, you can change that situation? And I'd like to hear you definitively say what your party's position is on the Christophe Harbour development.
I'm certainly grateful for your second question, because I have gotten a lot of licks on that Christophe Harbour matter. I have made statements, not about Christophe Harbour, never said anything about them. But I've made statements about government's policy. What is that policy? The policy is about the sale of sugar lands in this country. Obviously, Christophe Harbour did not buy any sugar lands. I have not said anything about Christophe Harbour. But let us come to Christophe Harbour and my policy. We are not adverse to the development over there. In fact, we welcome it and what it brings and what it does. It is going to be tremendous for this country. Tremendous in terms of the economics, in terms of the jobs, in terms of the revenue base. I would be folly to speak about that. But let us come to the racial overtones, because you mentioned, I don't know where you have gotten that from. Certainly, I have not said anything of any racial overtones. In fact, it is the other side, so we come from the plantocracy. So I cannot be plant a class on one end and racial for those types of things on the other. So I'm not certain what exactly you're talking about. But let me make sure that I'm very clear this afternoon. Neither Lindsay Grant nor the People's Action Movement, which I have the honor and the privilege to lead, has any political overtones, have any racial overtones or underpinnings, and we will never, ever bring into question a matter based upon race. Because obviously, when a horse has bolted the stable, we will not be able to pull it back. So I just hope that my position is very clear in terms of the development and the prolonged position of development in terms of making sure that the development stays in St. Kitts and Nevis. So I hope that it is understood by all interest groups and who have interest in this matter. My position and my party's position with regard to the Christophe Harbour. They have used a lot of propaganda about that. Never have I, if somebody can bring me a tape to say what I said about them, I've never ever uttered one iota about that development negatively. Always been positive. I reiterate what I have said is that this government, the sale of sugar lands for 75 cents and 69 cents per square foot will not be entertained by a People's Action Movement government. Will not be entertained.
I trust then, if I may, Lindsay, that you will communicate policy that you so clearly explicitly enunciated through your newspaper and through your party. Because I never accused you personally of making statements, but I have read your newspaper where they speak of Christophe Harbour being akin to slavery and continuous, many articles along those lines.
Let me, since you have so pointedly now said that, let me explain. My editor is here. I have said to them, I know what you're speaking about, a particular writer. Editor is here. Them, time and time again, as political leader of this party, and the paper being the mouthpiece of the People's Action Movement, I have to take responsibility because I am the leader. And I will not shun away from any responsibility. So I accept the responsibility of the writers totally. I will not shun away from it. That's what you're saying, Charles. Thank you.